Hello my dear students, welcome to Edentu Dental Academy. Now we'll be starting with the new subjects, that is your periodontics and oral implantology. Right? It is not periodontics, it is periodontics and oral implantology. Why I am stressing on the name oral implantology is that in your BDS, even though you would have read your implants under your oral surgery, your prosthodontics as well as perio, from your entrance exam, that is especially from a NEET point of view, your implants are restricted and should be limited entirely exclusively to your perio. Why? That is because, let's say a question on implant is being framed. The answer is always selected from the textbooks of perio, that is from your Carenza. Alright? Implant section from your entrance exam is exclusively limited to the subject of periodontics. Right? And from your NEET entrance examination, which is the main entrance that you will be facing, let's say 1 year from today, for your NEET entrance examination, your perio roughly accounts for around 14 questions, right? The NEET, as all of you know, the syllabus is preset. That is, they have allocated a different number of questions, a weightage for all subjects, out of which 14 questions out of 300 are coming from your periodontics, right? And periodontics, why I'm stressing on you is, out of these 14 questions, it is very easy to answer around 13 to 14 questions. I'm telling 100%. It is possible. It is very easy to answer around 90 to 100%. That is, all the questions can be correctly answered from perio. Let's say you compare it to some other subjects. Let's say your pharmacology. Let's say you have your dental materials. It is very difficult to get all of the, or your microbiology. It is very difficult to answer all the questions correctly, right? But subjects such as perio kindly make use of this. That is because you should be able to attempt all the questions, and you should be able to get all of it correct also. It is totally possible, right? Make use of this. And in your exam, that is your INICET, which was formerly referred to as your AIMS or your PGI Chandigarh or your MGPJ Pondicherry, it is clubbed. Now the exam is called as INICET. In this exam, let's say out of your 200 questions, again, around 10 to 15 questions can come from your perio. That is how important it is, right? For this exam, for your INICET, it is mainly your clinical subjects that you have to give importance to, the clinical subjects, out of which perio is an equally important part. Let's say you have 5 or 6 clinical subjects, of which perio and implants are important. All right. Now, how do we start learning the subject, right? How to start, which are the books? If I have to talk about the books that you have to refer, the most important book that all of you would have studied will be your Carenza, and that should be your most recent, that is the 13th edition. 13th edition Carenza should be your bible when you're studying perio. All right. And you have a variety of other books. That is, I can give you an example of, let's say, Linde. I can give you an example for Mish textbook for implants, right? Even though Mish is the best textbooks to study implant, right? Kindly, my dear students, I do not want any of you to start referring these textbooks. That is because even though Mish, we call it as the Bible of oral implantology, for your entrance, the entire point of me teaching you perio is that you should be able to crack your NEET entrance examination, right? So for that, for your NEET entrance examination, the answer key is picked not from your Mish, it is picked from your Carenza. That is why I'm telling you, your implants fall under perio, and the books, again, it is not Mish, it is your Carenza. You have only one textbook that you have to know, right? Any picture-based question you get, that is because, for example, they give you a picture of an instrument or a picture of a suturing technique. All these photographs, all these your picture-based questions, again, they are picked directly, the pictures that are given from Carenza. They cannot give you a, let's say they are going to ask you a picture of a probe, right? They cannot download it from online or any other textbook and give it to you. In your exam, that is in your NEET exam, the picture of a probe will be the direct scanned picture from your Carenza textbook, right? So you have only one book. Supplementing your Carenza, supplementing this, you have to read any of your MCQ books, right? You have to practice solving questions from any of your MCQ books, right? Because it is always a MCQ based learning. It is not like you sit and study the entire current textbook. It is not totally possible, because in your third year, final year only you have not studied. How can we study it in 1 year? That too with 19 other subjects. It is not possible. All right. So you should be smart. It is not like you study the theory and try to solve MCQs. No. It is like you practice your MCQs. That is, you practice a question and you have four choices, right? You read the question, you study the four choices, and then you study the related theory. You study the related theory behind this question. That is, you get a, let's say you get a question from your gingiva chapter, right? Understand what is he being asked, understand all the four options, and you study the theory that is surrounding that question. It is always from MCQ you go towards your theoretical concept. That is how you should study your perio. And the third thing that I want to stress upon, first was your Carenza, second is your MCQ book for practice, and third one will be the class notes, what I am making you write, right? That is because it is impossible, I know, for all of you to sit and read every line from Carenza, that too in depth. That is, I have read your Carenza for you and I am giving you these notes, what you have studied and something extra for your other entrance examination. So kindly write down whatever I'm writing. In my class, it should be with you. And how to make use of my classes, when you're sitting, when you're listening to this video, right, kindly have a notebook and a pen with you. Note down whatever I'm writing, kindly note down in your notebook, right, everything, and please read. When you're studying, let's say you're studying a portion from a textbook, kindly keep this class notes by your side and read this class notes along with your textbook. Only then it will suffice, or your MCQ book. All right. Now, if I have to jump into the subject as such, your perio or your entrance point of view can be divided into three broad sections. It can be divided into your non-surgical, or you can call it as your basic periodontium. Then the second topic will be your surgical periodontics, and third will be your implants. Basic or non-surgical, then you have your surgical, and then you have your implants. Under your non-surgical, we'll be studying your basic tissues, that is your gingiva, periodontal ligament, alveolar bone, and all that. We'll also be studying your gingivitis, your enlargement, your diseases of the gingiva, your acute gingival inflammation, your chronic periodontitis, and all that. Then in your surgical periodontics, perhaps the most interesting among all of this, that I'm sure you would have read in your final year BDS, that is, we'll be talking about your modified Widman flap, the suturing technique, bone grafts, membrane, regenerative, resective, right? And then the third section I have exclusively devoted to your implants, right? That is because, let's say you have the entire perio on one side, okay, you hang a balance, implants equally are important. That is, out of your 14 questions, roughly around 6 questions come from your implants. That is how important it is, right? It is balancing the entire perio by itself, right? It is damn important. That is because there are two reasons. One thing, implant is the latest upcoming branch, right? Second thing, let's say you ask me to, I am a invigilator, I have to set a paper for perio, right? Most of the perio questions have already come up in your exam. Implants are a relatively new concept, so it is interesting even for the examiner to fabricate new questions from your implantology. All right. So implants should be studied as a different, important, independent subject. So my advice to you all is that, order of preference, implants should be given the first priority among these three. That is because we have not studied in our BDS, right? Or we have read, somewhat here, there, a vague idea. It is relatively new. So we have to give maximum weightage to implants, understand what it is. Then, second most important is your non-surgical part, right? That is because if you look at your past year papers, your previous year's papers, previous year's questions, the recent trend over the last 5 years is that out of the 14 questions, only around 2 to 3 questions are coming from surgery, right? Yes, I know it is interesting. I know it takes a lot of time for you to study. It takes a lot of time for me to study. It takes a lot of energy. But at the end of the day, you have to be smart. The number of questions coming are very less. So please, devote only so much of time for your surgery. Instead, I want you to focus your energy on your implants as well as your non-surgical. All right. So again, I repeat, for your NEET, it is important what to study and what not to study. That is also very, very important. So kindly do not waste much of your time, right, to your surgical periodontics. Okay, as we study the different topics, I'll keep telling this again. And next, if you look at your exam pattern, what you can make out is that previously, that is, let's say around 6 to 7 years prior, the exam mainly was repeat based. That is, you had to study a set of previous papers. The questions were directly lifted from one paper and put in the other paper. It is like mugging up. You had to study previous papers, same questions will come in your exam, and you have to crack it. But over the last 5 to 6 years, exam is based upon new questions. That is, the invigilator is asked, he is given instructions to fabricate new questions. The invigilator has to give a clear-cut reference. That is, the new questions has to be fabricated from your Karanja textbook, and you have to give which edition and which page number. That is how your questions are being fabricated for the exam. All right. Again, it is your Karanja. Let's say you get a picture based. I have to specify from which chapter, which page number I have put it. So you cannot get some other question from out of the blue. All right. That is strictly restricted to your NEET. Next. Thirdly, the new questions, the new exam pattern, they are testing the subject knowledge. It is not like, I teach you this about gingiva, you by heart what it is, and you can answer the exam. No, you have to understand what is going on, right? You have to ask why, right? It is not what anymore, it is why, right? Let's say I teach you about bone resorption. You have to know why that resorption is happening, right? I teach you what is this thing about implants. You have to know why it is so, because they are testing your core knowledge in the recent exam patterns, right? This was about NEET. Even coming to your INI-CET, I hope you are aware of the pattern. They have a entirely different pattern. That is, you have certain questions like fill in the blanks. You have certain questions like match the following, wherein they give you multiple options here, multiple options here. You have to match. So if you have to attempt such type of questions, you have to know the subject in depth. You have to know what is going on. It is no more by hearting, right? It is all about understanding. So when you're attending the class, when you're seeing the video, kindly, I told you, make notes. At the same time, kindly pay attention, listen what is going on, understand what is going on. All right. So that is how I want all of you to approach your periodontics. Right. We'll try to make it fun. I need all of you to focus and pay attention. With that being said, enough of introduction. We'll be starting with your subject.